all right? But in 1970s, we eat only 20 kilos per year. So it has more than doubled over the period of time. So we eat a lot of fish, we consume a lot of fish. If you see this figure or this map, right, it is the contribution of fish to animal protein supply. So if you look at the fish protein per capita per day, right, so the lighter colors are less, the population consume less fish, and the darker color, the population consume more fish. So look at our region. We consume a lot of fish compared to other people in the world or other regions. But you see, our area is pink in color. It shows that for the coming years, the area of reduced catch potential under climate change. So over the years, we will, when we go out to the sea, the production or what we will catch will be less and less and less until there will be no more fish to catch if we do not intervene and do something. All right. So this is basically saying the same thing. They projected that we will have a future without fish because we consume so much, but we are not meeting that with culturing or with other ways of providing our fish. So by 2050, right, less than 10% of the fish species will be left if we do not do something. If we rely heavily on just fisheries, excuse me. All right, so these are why. Okay, some fishermen use very damaging techniques. All right, one of it is dynamite fishing. So they have this homemade TNT. Do not know how they make it. Probably it's easy, you know. Sometimes there are manuals on how to do it in the internet, and they go out to the sea and they throw it in the water. So uh, what they will get is they will get maximum number of fish with very little effort. Okay, you just chuck it in the water, it blows up, and the fish will float. So you get a lot of fish. But you need to remember, by doing that, you are killing other fish species and you are destroying the bottom sea or the corals that are near to where they are fishing, right? Very damaging. And this is also another way. It is called a bottom trawler. So on the ships or on the tanks that they have, so they attach this very big net. So they kind of just like scoop everything that is on the sea floor, just scoop everything, whatever that they will get. So these bottom trawlers destroy corals and sea life. So it is not good for the environment. All right. So this is also from the magazine Time. So it says the future of fish. So it gives an alternative. Can farming save the last wild food? Okay. So if you talk about fisheries and aquaculture, if we see chicken farming, all right, we do not catch wild chickens to eat, right? We farm them, all right? So almost 90%, I would say, of chickens we farm, right? We always get chickens from farms. But fish, we always want wild fish. Why is that? We need to change that mindset so that we can help to secure a future food security and future for our children as well. So when our children grow up, they will not have any fish to eat if we do not do something now. Okay? So what it says is that from the magazine, it says that fish are our last wild food and we're only realizing it. Basically, it says the magazine, it says that wild fish stocks are dwindling. So we need to find sustainable candidate for aquaculture that can produce efficiently. So that is the future for us. Our seafood consumption is high, but our catch is not sustainable. We cannot meet the demand and consumption of our, especially our in our country. Okay, do you need a break or shall I continue? We only have halfway to go. We are only halfway to go. You guys need a break or do you want to continue? Am I talking too fast? Do you want me to slow down? Do you want me
You're
to talk
going okay,
faster?
doctor.
All right, great. Other people, do you need a break?
I don't. I mean, doktor boleh continue je.
All right,
Okay,
so
dear.
I'll continue. Kita ada halfway there. So the part now that I will talk about is about aquaculture. Okay, so basically just now we talked about capture fisheries. So we catch the fish from the seas and what is the challenge and the problem with that. And now we are talking about one of the solution, which is aquaculture. Okay, so in short, if you just search what aquaculture means, I would just say that in short, it is a control process for human consumption. So we control the environment of the fish. So they can be indoor or they can be outdoor. We will talk about that in other lectures. So basically, we control them for human consumption. Right, I always like history, so you can always remember what is it about. So history of aquaculture, it starts way back. So the ancient Egyptian farm the species Nile tilapia, all right? So these Orychromis niloticus in ponds adjacent to the river Nile River, right? That was 4000 BC. And that is Egypt, and across the other side is China, produced the world's first aquaculture manual. It is called Chinese Fish Culture Classic by the scholar Fan Lai. All right, that is this manual is, I think, is we can see the picture, right? So it kind of like, I cannot read it, but it basically shows some of the basic or standardized method how to rear the fish. All right, so it is they already produced the manual back then. So you see the pictures here on the walls. There are a lot of pictures, but I'll just show you one. So this is basically the Nile tilapia lah. So they are farming it in ancient Egypt. It definitely looks like a tilapia. So yeah, this is the manuscript of standardized fish farming back in ancient China, right? Okay, very interesting. So you know that aquaculture has begun way back, but we still need to improve. Now we still have a lot of things to improve. Hopefully we can have a more sustainable aquaculture in the future. Now we already have, but of course there always room for improvement. Okay, a bit of history of the aquaculture in Malaysia. So it starts from 1920s. So we have all these ex-mining pools that are left, you know, without any use. So they decided to use it for, they call it polyculture. So they culture a few species together, which consists of big head carp, silver carp, and grass carp. All right. In 1930s, start to culture marine shrimp, trapping ponds in Johor. 1940s, culture of black cockles or kerang. In 1950s, only we start to culture freshwater fish in earthen pond extensively. So basically, previously it was just ex-mining pools. So starting in 1950s, baru we start to use earthen ponds. Itu pond yang you selalu see by the roads kan, that use the itulah earthen ponds, you know, the name explains stuff. So a bit later in 1970s, more intensive, semi-intensive shrimp culture in Johor. And we start to have marine fish in floating net cages for culture of grouper, macam the earlier pictures that I showed you, those floating cages. And then in 1990s, intensive commercialization and also with complementary feeding lah, and also we have also established a few private feed mills that can support our aquaculture. SG, let me check back what is that. I'll let you know later. Sometimes I write it very fast and Alright, why aquaculture? Basically what I've mentioned just now. If you look at the news today, alright, they will always say overfishing this species, overfishing of sawfish, overfishing of shark, overfishing of tuna, overfishing of octopus. Everything is overfished. So aquaculture will hopefully solve the problem of certain species, alright? No, not all species, certain species that is optimum or optimized for aquaculture. This is very important. From Global Aquaculture Alliance, aquaculture production is highly resource efficient. Okay, look at the protein retention compared to chicken, compared to swine, compared to cattle farming. Protein retention of fish is high, 31%. If you look at the fish kan, if you want to cook it, when you want to remove the bones and the head, including just very little, right? So you get a lot of meat from that, alright? And the protein quality is also good quality. Energy retention is high as well, 22%. Feed conversion ratio is 1.1, which is good. So FCR, the lower, the better. Okay. But I am not sure if there is any fish species that is lower than this. Probably is Clarias or curly. So probably curly is one of the most efficient at feed conversion. So curly. And edible meat per 100 kilo of feed fat is also high. So 61 kilo, 21 compared to beef industry. Okay. So what this picture is trying to show you is that aquaculture industry is good for the environment as well. Okay. Generally, aquaculture has 4 stages. So we will talk about this more later on. So we start with baby fish or fingerlings, juveniles in the hatcheries. And then we have feed meals. We have farm. So farm means grow out stages. So these juveniles or baby fish from the hatchery, they will transfer or feed to a grow out farm for them to grow to a market size, depending on the species. And then processor, right? Oh, it's here, right? Processor means process the fish into value added products, or they just take the meat, remove the intestines, or and stuff like that. Okay, so this square tells you that our global demand will increase over the years, and our consumption will increase from 50 to 62% in 2030. So it is a projection, but highly likely it will be like this. Okay. Aquaculture production in Asia, we are taking China is 58%. The rest of Asia is 31%, and the rest of the world is 11%. So the big player in aquaculture, as with other industry, is China, right? So they produce a lot. In Malaysia, unfortunately, fisheries, this is 2018, 2019 data from FAO, and I did fact check it with Department of Fisheries. So this is quite recent. Fisheries, capture fisheries, 88%, and aquaculture is 12% only. But it's good. We are going to improve. Alright, just introduction of what are we culturing here in Malaysia. So brackish species ni maksudnya ikan bukan air masin. The salinity is not as high as in the sea water, slightly lower, right? But more or less marine lah juga, okay? Black cockles, kerang, giant tiger prawn, penis monodon. We have Asian sea bass ataupun barramundi, lettuce calcarifer, and in 1995, the Penis monodon had majority of the farms had this white spot disease. So the production reduced, I think around 2000, slightly before 2000. And then they start to introduce a new species, which is called Pacific white leg shrimp. So the color is slightly lighter. We will see the pictures in our practical session. Penis vaname. So currently it is 70% of the production of the shrimp in the market now is a not monopoly lah, but majority of it is vaname. Okay. Alright, do not worry about this. We will go through this in the practical session. So the freshwater species in Malaysia, ikan air tawar, we have grass carp, silver carp, tilapias, katla, carassius, catfish, and rohu fish. Alright, do not worry about this. We will look into them in the practical session. Alright, basically the production cycle in the fish farm, we have the fish has got to come from somewhere, right? So we have broodstock. Okay, broodstock are males and females that have reached maturity, and we can collect the egg and the sperms. Usually for aquaculture farm, we do it externally. Okay, maksudnya they stripe the eggs and the sperm out and then mix it manually and then put it back into the water to become larvae and juveniles. And then once they reach a certain length or age, other farmers which only has grow up farms will buy this larvae and juveniles, usually juveniles, put in their farms just to grow to a market size. Okay, kalau if I'm not mistaken, for groupers and sea bass it's around I would say 10 months to a year, also depending on the environment and so on. Alright, and then of course we have harvesting and processing, distribution and sales. Also a main or majority of the production comes from feeds. Therefore feed and feeding factor is important for the broodstock, for the juveniles, for the grow out stages, because each stages of fish have got different feeding size, the pellet size. Also some needs live feed, okay, makanan yang hidup macam zooplankton atau phytoplankton atau artemia, okay. And then management of water and wastewater is also important. We'll talk about it as we go along this course, okay. This is what I like, animal improvement. My PhD was on selective breeding of fish. So I like to talk about animal improvement, but probably not during this lecture. So we have a few methods of selective breeding, sex reversal. The interesting thing about fish is that they hatch or they are born hatch lah kan. Hatch some are hatch as females. Okay, macam grouper. I like grouper because it was my topic. So they hatch or they grow as females, and then during reproduction, if the male in the group dies for some reason, the alpha, they call it, right, the alpha female will reverse its sex to male. So some are, it's called, the fish are hermaphrodites. So for grouper, they are hermaphrodite protogynous. Okay, it's just technical thing. So you can reverse, and also some farms, some fish species, the males grow much more efficiently compared to the female, and depends, some males, some females grow more efficiently as compared to the other fish species. So in that farm, they only one male or the only one female, okay? So they can reach the market size faster, okay? And also genetic biotechnologies ni one of the way that we want to improve the quality of our broodstock and juveniles, okay? very important cycle. Okay, let's talk about the challenges. Aquaculture is the solution, but it is not met with it is met with challenges, all right, just like any other industry. So increase in demand, but our seed supply or seed ni is itulah apa tu, juveniles that came from our broodstock. Okay, so usually for grouper they catch the broodstock from the wild. Okay, dia orang dapat daripada yang liar punya lah. So but this is not sustainable. So and we do not know the genetic profile of or the general morphology profile or the breeding profile of that fish, alright? So we are only having it from the wild, catch it, and then try to breed it somehow. So we need genetic selective programs for better healthier broodstock, therefore produce better juveniles or fingerlings. How can we do this? Through improving our hatchery technologies, alright? We will talk about this as we go along this course. As with other industry, high feed costs in aquaculture, okay, 50% to 70% of production is contributed to the feed cost. For fish aquaculture, back then they only use fish meal. Okay, so fish meal ni are fish that they small fish that they catch from the wild, and then they kind of grind it up to become a meal. So it becomes fish meal, and then they add in fish oil. So that is probably what they had back then, but now we incorporated other plant-based resources such as soybean, corn, rice and wheat because it is available. Okay, fish meal may not be readily available as other resources. So if feed cost is high, some farmers might want to reduce that. So the FCR, the low quality feed, or in other words, if it is cheaper, it might affect the feed conversion ratio, right? If the feed quality itself is not good, the fish will not reach its market value or market size as quickly as we want, or they might be compromised. The immunity might be compromised and exposed to other diseases. All right. So for some certain fish species, they need to use they are carnivorous, and so they need to feed them with they call this trash fish or low quality fish. All right, and this trash fish or low quality feed fish meal could be contaminated lah with heavy metals or whatever it is lah. Alright, and certain stages of fish, macam as I said before, juveniles, they need live feed, okay? Because they are, it all depends on the mouth size, okay? As they mula-mula, the first 10 days, they still use the yolk sac, and then after that, the mouth starts to open, and they need small feed. So that small feed is provided, or we can feed them with zooplanktons and phytoplankton for larva stages. But zooplanktons and phytoplanktons, you need to culture it in your farm. Okay, you need to culture it, know how to culture it for you to be able to feed these fish of the larva stages. So usually hatcheries, they have just a special area for them to culture these planktons or live feed. Alright, we cannot talk about aquaculture without talking about environmental degradation. When we culture fish, alright, and we feed the fish with pelleted feed and so on, alright, we are polluting without the right way, without the right knowledge, we are going to pollute our water resources and cause eutrophication, okay? So basically it is a build-up of excess nutrients, usually nitrogen and phosphorus, and also waste from our farm, causing what we call is alga bloom. Alright, when the alga full of it on the surface, it will cause death of corals and it will cause death to the fish because it uses up all the oxygen and basically suffocating your fish or suffocating the wild or whatever species fish, causing death to the fish and also the corals. This is just a diagram from a paper. Okay, so basically our husbandry practices of excess feeding of our cultured fish species can cause biofouling, eutrophication, all right, biodecomposition, farm waste effect, all right, and secondary attraction ni other wild fish macam ni dia tunjuk dolphins lah and everything, right? They can come in attracted to your farm, probably causing damage to your nets or other effects lah. Okay. Other challenges, management practices. Managing a farm is highly demanding. There are practices that is not good. We need to manage the farm properly in order for us to produce fish that is sustainable. Okay, so management practices that we need to think about: the overuse or the use of antibiotics that is not approved. And some farm they want the fish to grow faster. They want more number of fish, so they stock the fish at a high stocking density. So when they do this, whenever the fish are stressed, the fish will die. Kan? The fish will die in high numbers. Waste discharge from the farm and also destruction of mangrove. Some of the farms they are built along the coastline. So when they are built along the coastline, they destroy the mangrove. Mangrove is important. Why? We will see later on. And others, for example, salmon. Salmon now, as far as I know, there is genetically modified salmon that is kept in indoor facilities. And there are worries that these genetically modified fish are more or less more resistant. They are more optimized for aquaculture. But what happens if this genetically modified fish released into the wild? What will happen? The genetic consequences is unknown, or we are afraid that they might bring or take with them diseases to the wild population. So these are the things that we need to consider. All right, you see, high stocking density, whenever there's stress, water quality is not good, the fish will gasp for air. Basically, they are suffocating and there's little that you can do in this situation. So stocking density is important. It needs to be optimum, different for different fish species and also different for indoor and outdoor, right? So this is what I've mentioned, more and more ponds are being constructed along the coastline that will destroy the environment. Not destroy lah, but disrupt. All right, if we manage them properly, it is better for the environment. Okay, importance of mangrove system. Importance because mangrove regulate our temperature. I just show you the next one lah. All right. Mangrove act as a climate regulation. It is a carbon sink, they call it. All right, and it is also important for fisheries. Certain fingerlings and juveniles, after they are hatched, including grouper, they live their early stage of life near the roots or near the mangrove area before they migrate into the open sea. Tourism, it also acts as a water filtration. It protects the coastline against it restores the mangrove for coastal defense. Sorry, what am I saying? It acts as a coastal protection, and also it is a source of wood, right? Source of timber and fuel and more importantly, it is source of livelihood for people as well. All right. So these are the ecosystem services which benefits people from the mangrove. All right, this course is called Aquatic Animal Health. So I will also introduce on diseases. All right, in fish, fish lives in, they live in their own waste. They live in the toilet. When they breathe, they take up water, the same medium as where they excrete, right? So it is important to understand the factors of the host, the environment, and the pathogens, because the pathogens are around them, around the fish. What makes them susceptible? So that is what we need to know, and we will figure out, we will learn about it through this course. And most probably, the number one factor is poor water quality and culture conditions. And usually in farms, aquaculture farms, what they do is they treat the water that is incoming or outgoing using chlorine, ozone, or UV. We can also use, instead of using antibiotics, some farms use probiotics, right? It is proven, research proven, and strong evidence that suggests that probiotics can help improve or boost the immune system of fish and shrimp. And we will also need to talk about rapid diagnostic methods. How do we diagnose fish diseases? And it is important because it will affect the treatment that we will do. And the treatment need to be safe and effective, because the water that we put in the treatment will be released into the main water source. So there are concerns that whatever treatment that is done in the aquaculture farms will affect the surrounding community, water sources. And another important strategy is quarantine strategies. So new fish that are coming in needs to be quarantined in a separate area or separate facility before they are introduced to other areas in the farm. Okay. I also like this topic, stress. It was also part of my PhD. So I'm just going to briefly talk about this. So basically stress, any type of stress is a major impact on fish health, all right? Because it increases susceptibility to pathogens. Therefore, in aquaculture farms, we need to find ways for us to reduce the stress so that the fish can be, the aquaculture farm can cannot do not have any or less minimize the losses due to this. Okay. So what are the stresses in fish? So we have three types. Okay, chemical stresses, whatever that is polluting the water, contaminants, low oxygen, physical stresses. Okay, some fish, if you walk in front of the tank also, they will get stressed. So there are ways to minimize that. So physical stresses is also stresses to fish lah. In fish farms, sometimes at a certain age, during juveniles, they need to sort or grade the fish according to the sizes, all right? So this need to be done once a week for 1 to 2 months, okay? Or more or less, depending on the species. So handling or grading of this fish will cause stress. So after grading, we need to monitor the fish for signs of diseases. And if they are showing signs, what are the ways that we can do to treat them, right? And perceived stresses, these are usually for wild fish lah, stimuli and presence of predators. So in fish, we have same primary, secondary, tertiary responses. This you can read yourself, but know that for fish, there are three types of stresses. Okay. All right. What are the best practice management in a farm? I'm telling it now, and we can also discuss it throughout in Amali as well, because we will talk about aquaculture in system in Amali. So as I've mentioned before, avoid overcrowding, provide optimal nutrition, manage the feed. So if you feed them in tanks, probably you can do this, all right? Remove the uneaten or undigested food. But in ponds or in cages, I'm not sure if you can do this. Probably there's a way, but I do not know. All right, so if the workers notice any dead or sick fish, you need to immediately remove them. Right, so it is to ensure that all of this, right, managing feed, removing dead animals or fish, is to maintain good water quality. All right, so if you overfeed the fish, the water will be polluted. All right, too much feed is not good. Need to be optimum for the fish health. So there are ways to monitor and record the system. Some have an automatic system or probe that sends out data to them about the water quality. Some more traditional farmers use kits or like probe that they carry around to take water quality parameters and to monitor their ponds. All right. And as I've mentioned before, minimizing of stress. These days, technology and aquaculture run hand in hand. So we have, for example, this is a real-time monitoring system. So it's an app on the phone that you can remotely monitor your fish when you're not at the farm. They can tell you about feeding optimization. So they can see how much or when to feed, right? The frequency. And also if they have installed a water quality management system, they can tell you about the temperature, the water level, the oxygen, and three very important parameters in every farm is ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. All right. And then harvest prediction, I assume it's when the fish reach a certain weight that they can, without you having to manually handle the fish. So they probably have an AI kind of camera to do this and also have monitoring. Okay. Another technology is counting of fish or shrimp. Sometimes they need to do this because of they want to know how much or how many fish or shrimp that they have in the farm. So it's kind of like an inventory thing. So imagine you have to do it manually, you need to hire people to count your fish, very small fish, how many hundreds of thousands or 100,000 of fish that you need to do this. So this counting fish using IoT technology is probably going to be helpful to the fish farms. All right, last slide. Technology to determine feeding time and frequency, right? Most of the traditional fish farm hires people lah kan, people or their staff to go out and feed the fish manually by hand, or some use a blower. So they put the feed in a tank and kind of like spray or on the fish pond or on the cages, okay? So this not only can help you with that, and probably it has a system to release the feed as well. So overfeeding can cost money, so they do not want to overfeed the water and pollute the water. Okay, that's it for me. Any question? Or do you guys want to go to practical session? Ada orang ada soalan?
Doctor, I
None
was
from
just
me, doctor.
Right.
I just wanted to ask
Right.
because I was like reading something about sustainable fish farming kan, because like apparently macam aquaculture on the internet has like a bad reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kan kalau sustainable fish farming, like is it like they completely avoid using like all those hormones, antibiotics, semua tu.
I would say I would say in terms of fish farms, if there is, actually we will learn this, all right? So we need to balance whether you want to use chemotherapy or you want to treat the fish, or you just destroy your fish and get a new batch. So which one is cheaper? In terms of a fish farm, if it is heavily infected, most of the farm will just cull all the fish. If small number of fish is infected, we can treat, but treatment at a cost. Not a lot. I do not think there are a lot of antibiotics that are approved to be used for fish species. All right. In terms of sustainable aquaculture, there are different systems of aquaculture. So probably an indoor setting would be good, where you can control the parameters and you can treat the water that is outgoing. Okay, certain farms do that. Hormones, we use hormones usually on broodstock only, right? We do not use them for regular fishes. For fish to eat, we do not do that. Hormones only on in broodstock, right? Does that help you to understand?
Oh, yeah, it does. Thank you so much, doctor.
All right. Other questions? Wait, let me see. I'm gonna wait. Let me stop sharing first. Wait. There's a chat question. Alright. Olaf. Alright. Sedapnya sushi. There's a secret restaurant in Bangi that I always go to get my sushi. So if anybody can guess that. Anyways, let's just we need to start eating betta. Betta fish. You can eat it like ikan bilis lah. Not, no, it's too expensive to be eaten as ikan bilis. Aquaculture will be a better practice than fisheries, but if aquaculture discard mangrove, what can be solution? Okay, this is a question for biologists, but I try to answer it. Conservationists. Usually, there are fish farms that are involved with kind of like conservation of mangrove. But we cannot say that we cannot have fish farm at all. Fish farm needs to provide us with food security and nutrition. But what I think the good solution is that we ourselves, people who are involved in aquaculture and aquaculture businesses, need to somehow pitch in the conservation of mangrove, education, and so on. All right, because if you see, if they only get their broodstock from the wild, if the wild is the source of their fish for their farm, kan, for their broodstock, if they do not maintain and help to manage or conserve mangrove, they will not, eventually they will not have any broodstock for them to catch, to put in their farm. So I think aquaculture businesses need to be aware that if they do not help with the conservation of mangrove, in the future, as we go along, they will not have any fish to be used as a broodstock unless they culture for themselves. But as a fish genetic person, you need to see about the genetic pool, right? If they only maintain the fish in the farm, they need to somehow get some to add into the genetic pool of their fish in the farm lah, for them to get better and healthier fish. So if over the long run, they will get inbreeding. So inbreeding causes losses to the farm as well, right? Alternative solution to practice. All right, we can discuss. We already discussed that. Any other question? Also, are there any international students in the class?
Yes, doctor.
Yes,
How
doctor.
many? 3, 4. I assume there are 3 or 4.
Me 5.
5.
Oh, 5. All right. Okay. No. All right. So, where are you guys from? So I need to kind of like see what are the aquaculture practices. But basically, not much difference. Where are you guys from?
Bye-bye.
I'm from China, doctor.
China. Okay, all right. So that's new. First student I have from China. Like this.
I'm from Mauritius.
Mauritius. All right. Okay, never mind. That's it for the presentation today. If you guys look into the Padlet that I've prepared, so you will get most of the resources there. I will try to update Putra Blast as well. I've only gotten the access this morning, so I'm trying to figure that out. Please bear with me. I'm also fresh and new, so I need to figure a lot of things out as I go along. Okay, for Pro Sharif, I will host and give the link to him so he will join in. Or yeah, I'll do that. For him, he is very particular on time. All right. So please be on time or a little bit earlier. Please pay attention to what Prof. Sharif and Dr. Hassan has to say. It is probably going to be the last. This is probably going to be the last and only session that you will have with them. After this, you will not learn anything about aquatic animal health anymore, unless you further studies. And I know that most of you are probably not interested in aquatic animal health, but I hope you use the opportunity given now during this semester to widen your knowledge, all right, to learn a little bit more. And for me, if you talk about exam and questions, I do not think I will give hard questions or anything like that, mostly basics. And I would love for all of you to pay attention and learn as much as you can during hands-on or practical session, because it takes a lot of time to plan. The staff need to go get the fish, buy the fish, and use that fish that you have. If like really use that fish, right? If you want to learn the organ, look at it. If time permitted lah, kan. And okay, because we have challenges previously, previous classes. Students are not really interested in aquatic animal health, but I do hope that you will take the opportunity to learn. Okay? Any other questions? Kalau tak ada, any question?
Doctor, I'm just wondering, are there any known zoonosis on fish? I mean, regarding fish?
Yes. The exact list is on the OIE Animal Health Code. That is on the Padlet. All right, you can look at it. We do have a few, right, that you need to report and so on. We will go through that during our course. Okay.
Okay.
Yang OIE Animal Health Code, yeah, they are listed there. But it is not of a major concern lah for me. Like usually kalau kita pergi farms, a lot of the farmers they get a certain fungal disease, I think, or parasite, but it's very self-limiting. I do not think that it is that much of a concern of zoonosis to other species of animals as well, right? What is the main concern in aquaculture is actually wastewater, number one. Number two is the treatment of fish in a water body that shares the water resource with other people. And number 3 is the escape of fish from aquaculture farms into the wild and the effects of it. So zoonosis, I would not say that it is a major concern, but it is good to know. Okay. Have you gotten your groups?
Oh,
Not yet, Doctor.
Do you prefer to be grouped as your rotation group, or do you prefer to be grouped as in like a new group for this course? So what is the don't have group? Afika, you can join any group. Or you can have a table on your own at the back, you know. Usually, okay, this course is usually joined by postgraduate students. My predecessors usually include them. It's a different course code, but they join in the same class material. But your exam questions, Afika, will be different. But it won't be hard lah. Won't be hard. Okay, Afika, you can join any group. But if you want to join, usually postgraduate students, they form a group. And then they kind of do their thing at the back. But you just join any group. I'll give you the course rep number. Okay, Afika, and then you can contact her for groupings. Right? Nak pilih sendiri boleh. Ada 2 orang. There's another postgraduate student. So I've checked the system. There are two including Afika. I'll give you her number later. Nak pilih sendiri boleh? Boleh? Course rep mana?
Ya, Doctor.
Nak pilih sendiri. So diorang nak pilih sendiri. Nanti you arrange lah for them to pilih sendiri.
Okay. Tapi kena ikut group K1, K2 ke?
Yes, sebab I nak mudahkan practical session nanti. Practical session we will divide into 2 kan. So I will need to follow that group lah. Boleh?
Boleh, Doctor nak one group around berapa orang?
You all have 100 right? Plus 2. 100 exact plus 2.
Oh no, ada 100 plus. Kena check balik nanti.
Okay, always plus 2 because they are postgraduate students. Plus 2. Satu group je meja dekat MM1 tu, it's not that big. Try kalau 6 hingga 7 orang, 6 to 7 people, how many per group? How many groups can we get? Because I'm worried about social distancing in the lab. Try 6 first. Try 6 or maybe 7, right? Try 6, 7. Then you would have how many groups, and then send these names to me. We'll try to figure it out, alright? For practical session, please, I hope you guys come equipped with what you want to do, you should, when you come in, step in the Makmal lab, you should already know what you are going to do on that day. I will of course give you a handout. Okay, for you, and hopefully everybody can have a chance to learn, okay? Yeah. Anything else? Group leaders, on Friday morning, okay, please contact Puan Latifah. Please, okay, there's only one of her. She really need help, especially during experiments where we need the fish to be alive in front of you for you to do things like anesthesia and everything. So we need to carry like 20 aquarium plastic tanks, 20, can you imagine? 20 tanks to carry downstairs. Gonna break her back. So she really need help. Other than that, tak ada apa-apa lah. Anything else? Okay, I forgot to ask you. Okay, I have something to add. Do you want to submit your handout, like your practical session? Do you want to submit is number one. Number two, if you want to submit to me, do you want to submit individually or do you want to submit in group? Because practical session, tutorials or whatever you call it, will be a major major thing for your exams lah. I usually will take some from your practical sessions. So groups or individuals, do you want to submit or do you do not want to submit? Any reply? Any response? Because the reason I want you to submit is I want you to do it, If I say, okay, take this handout and do it on your own time and, no need to submit to me. I'm worried that you will not do it because certain questions will come from those things, But then I do not know if I have the time to check everyone's submission. Okay, submit in group. Okay, kita submit in group lah. Alright, one, yang I dah letak dekat Padlet tu, the exercise practical handout that I put in Padlet, then I will change it lah. Okay, submit in groups. For Amali on Friday, it is going to be online. So if you have looked through the slides, we are just going through looking at the pictures and also just getting to know what are the local fish species. Okay? So we are very early. You're supposed to finish at 1. What are you having after lunch? What is the class that you're having after lunch?
Statistik.
By Dr.
Prof.
Akmal.
Prof.
Oh,
Info, tak silap.
Dr. Akmal is teaching you? No. No, alright. I guess I have nothing else to say. I wish you all the best in your clinical